The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
Happy holidays, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. What a magical time of year. I hope you are all having just so many wonderful memories with yourself and with your loved ones. What a great time of year. I'm already filled with the holiday spirit. I had such a great time having producer Lauren, my sister, and the whole family over at the house recently, celebrating a little Christmas. Whatever holidays you celebrate, I hope you're having. Let me put it this way. If you're having half as much fun as I've had so far this holiday season, you're having a pretty dang good time. And I think as you listen to this, you're either going to be just about celebrating New Year's or New Year's is coming up for you. Either way, I wish you all a happy new year, and I hope 2025 is a absolute home run for you. And there's somebody in particular that I definitely like to wish all the happiest of holidays to, and it's our co-host this week. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Musician, investor, and frontman for Gideon King and City Blog. Gideon King is here. Happy holidays, Gideon.
Hey, man. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Okay, you can keep making that noise if you want. So Merry Christmas. I hope you guys are happy, healthy. I hope all your listeners are happy, healthy, and that sort of thing. I personally, I won't lie to you. I like Christmas and the holidays, but I do get I think I suffer from that thing called seasonal affective disorder, where I get kind of anxious and a little depressed during the holidays. So in case your listeners and you wanted a monster downer and wanted you to be in a bad mood, I'm here to supply that service for you guys here in the holidays.
That's generally what people want this time of year. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I'm here. Yeah. That's my Christmas present to you, to announce to you that I suffer from seasonal affective disorder.
Well, producer Lauren also dropped me a quick note to let us know that it's also Elisa Rockdock, our other Break the Business co-host, birthday today as we record this. So, perk up for our fellow Break the Business family member. That's all I'm saying. No, in all seriousness, man, we're here for you, and we want you to have the best time that you can. But I know, believe me, I can understand how this holiday comes with its share of stresses as well, and we do want to acknowledge and pay heed to that. And even though I've had a great time this holiday, man, it's a lot. It's a lot putting the holidays together. I've noticed this as I get older. When I was younger, when I was a kid, I believed in the Christmas magic, the holiday magic, where it was man, when Christmas happens, it's just so magical. The air seems sweeter, everything looks more colorful, the food tastes better. And now as a grown up, I'm realizing it wasn't magic at all. It was just a bunch of really stressed out grown-ups who made the air smell a little better, who made the food taste sweeter, who made the house brighter, and they're all exhausted and a little depressed because of all the work that they had to put in to make it magical for children.
On the flip side, getting away from depressive tendencies for a moment, it is nice to be able to say something really nice to people. I'm here in Miami, and people are walking by and they're like, "Hey, Merry Christmas. Hey, Happy Holidays." So it's nice to have something nice to say to your fellow citizens, not "I disagree with you," or "I hate your politics," or "You hate my politics," or it's nice to just literally walk by and be like, "Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays." It's nice to have something to say that binds us together. So see, I'm the upper now, and you're the downer, man. I'm the upper.
I mean, I'm not calling BS on your story, but I'm a lifelong Miamian too. You're telling me you actually found somebody in Miami on the street who just wished you happy holidays? Because that's not the Miami I know. My experience with Miami is the only time strangers will just walk up to you and wish you well or say hi or how you doing is after just a vicious hurricane. I'm talking Cat 3 or higher. Anything less than that, and like you'd be lucky if you get eye contact from strangers in this town.
You really need to see a psychiatrist for that darkness and that because I mean, like I was out to dinner last night in Midtown Miami, and people were like, Merry Christmas, and I was like, Merry Christmas back, Happy Holidays. There were lots of smiles and so on. So I don't share that. I think people are out there putting a good face on and being really friendly. You need me on this show, Ryan, to bring the Christmas cheer. Actually, you need a Jewish guy from New York to bring the Christmas cheer. That's your problem, man. That's you. Thank God I'm here.
You beat me to the joke. I don't even need to be here. You're gonna do your side and you're gonna do the jokes, and I just kind of sit here. We do need you. We need you for your Christmas cheer, which is somehow also tinted with seasonal affective disorder, which, I'll figure out how to wrestle with that. Right. But we also need you here, for the expertise, and just for the good vibes. Like you bring all of that, and I'm so grateful for it. And just, want to say just how great it's been having you, joining us on the show as a co-host this year. We're all really grateful for it.
I appreciate it. You guys are great. Producer Lauren's great. You're great. The topics are great. And, I want to raise, basically. I want to raise.
We're going to triple what we're paying you now.
Yeah.
Also grateful for the guests that we're interviewing this week. You're going to love these two. A dynamic duo of founders, Channing Moreland and Mackenzie Stokel. They are the co-founders of a platform called Eva, which is a platform that helps artists connect with companies who are looking for performers for corporate gigs. I think this is a really cool platform. They started it in their dorm room at Belmont University. Now it is a oversubscribed investment company. They're doing really, really well. I'm excited to hear more about their platform, if for no other reason, Gideon, that I want more people on this show to spread the gospel of the greatness that is corporate gigs. I think there are a lot of musicians out there who, when I say corporate gig, they immediately kind of just feel a twinge of revulsion. Ooh, corporate. Oh, I don't want to play for some faceless, soulless corporation. I want to play for the people. But I want to try to encourage the viewers and listeners to abandon that notion, because here's what corporate gigs give you, okay? A venue, a client that actually pays you on time, usually pays you above market. Solid people that you're working with, often very, very friendly. Some of my clients, some of the best paying gigs that they get, some of the most reliable gigs that they get, particularly around the holidays, are corporate gigs. And so a platform like Eva that's going to help musicians find those corporate gigs and help companies find musicians for those corporate gigs are great. I assume, Gideon, as both a musician and a corporate guy, you have a similar fondness for these corporate gigs.
Actually, no, dude, like honestly, the musicians who play in my band, which is a lot of different people, we have an 8-person band and we have a lot of people switch in and switch out. So it must be 20 people involved all in. Corporate gigs are actually, they're really fun. People like them. People pay attention to the music. They listen to the music. They pay better. And sometimes those corporate gigs I have friends who played for Sting and for all different types of people, and they love those gigs. People listen to the music, they get paid well. Honestly, it's the problem with corporate gigs is that often really good bands don't get to do them because it's already established artists who get contacted first. Now that's changing, and to the extent that you have your guest on, it's super relevant, because that needs to change, because there's all these great bands out there that can put on an amazing show and won't just mail it in like a super famous person. So no, man, corporate gigs, if they have a bad name, that's wrong. They shouldn't.
So what you're telling me, though, that was an interesting point there at the end there, that it sounds like there's a need in the marketplace for musicians who would do really well in these gigs, who would crush at them, but because they don't have the connections to these companies, don't have a way into this particularly lucrative revenue stream. And so maybe a platform like Eva that helps connect gigs to musicians could create value.
It's inevitable because the event planners for these corporate things want great entertainment, but they don't necessarily want to pay up monstrously for a super famous name who's just going to come and really kind of make it obvious. To be honest with you, I've seen a lot of these, and like when you have like Cyndi Lauper, and I'm not picking on her at all, but if you have
better not be
or whatever, like often they come, they know it's a corporate gig, and they kind of mail it in, man. As opposed to some mid-level band like a Chris Norton or one of those that comes and puts on a crazy show, and people actually like it a lot more, as opposed to saying at the end, like, yeah, XYZ famous person came and they kind of mailed it in, and you could feel that it's almost like they're reading off like their iPod, or I'm sorry, their iPad, and you're like, they're not really into this. Whereas if you can get sort of a couple rungs below that in terms of notoriety, you'll actually get a way better show, and I think it'll just be, in general, not always, but kind of like a happier situation for everybody. I've literally seen that. I mean, this is not speculation. I've literally seen it. So.
You got me more excited than ever now to get this interview underway. But before we chat with Channing and Mackenzie, I wanted to chat with you about a pretty cool article I saw in Hypebot recently that was basically just breaking down what Jay Gilbert of Your Morning Coffee and Music Biz Weekly podcast thinks is going to be the biggest trends that drive the music business in 2025. Now, Jay Gilbert identified 3 trends, and I kind of just wanted to go through each of them one by one and talk to you about each one and sort of get your thoughts on whether you think these are going to be trends as well. So let's break right into the first one here. So the first trend that Jay Gilbert talked about in this Hypebot article, he called "Fans are the new creators." From the article, quote, "Generative AI platforms and tools are enabling fans to co-create music alongside their favorite artists, blurring the line between music consumption and creation. Younger generations who have grown up with technology view music creation differently than previous generations. These fans are no longer content to passively listen. They want to participate by speeding up, slowing down, reverbing, breaking out stems, remixing, interpolating, and reimagining tracks by their favorite artists. Online communities like BandLab, Discord servers, Reddit forums are fostering collaboration among fans to share tools, techniques, and inspiration. Look for new revenue streams from commercialization of fan-made content." This is a pretty powerful trend, Gideon, that has come about recently, where fans are feeling a greater sense of wanting to participate in the artistic process rather than just be a passive observer of it. Interested in thinking what you think of this phenomenon, and as a musician, like, do you like the idea of artists sort of tinkering with your creations, or you just kind of want them to sit back and listen to what you've made?
I mean, I have super mixed. I have like 1,000 thoughts that go off in my brain about this. On the one hand, yes. Of course, there are tools to take a piece of music, speed it up, slow it down, without changing the pitch, which was the old technological problem. And you can stick reverb and delay on it and time-based effects, and you can change it and you can remix it. Okay. But I don't really know. Sure, there will be things that go viral, but there's 180, 190 million releases last year. Okay. As I think the article pointed out, or something I read pointed out. And so if you're going to add to that, it really might not have the impact that people wanted to have. Yes, we will hear the story about the kid that remixed a Drake tune and now is getting 5 billion streams on YouTube or whatever. But for the most part, it will add to the tidal wave of music content coming forward. It's not really original. Let's be honest. Is there a creative element in doing a remix? Well, first of all, let's not call these remixes. A remix is a very different thing where you impose harmony and all kinds of things on an existing piece of music. What we're really talking about here is just taking a piece of music and messing with it in terms of some toys. And so, like, to be honest, I think the actual effect of this is just going to be more releases added to an already oversupply of releases. Most of them are going to be pretty cheesy and not great. And it's fun and it's cool, and kids play video games, and kids will play with generative AI tools to mess with music, and kids will ride bicycles. And so, like, it'll just be another thing out there. But do I think it's dramatically going to change the music business? Nope. No, I don't. Not at all, actually. I actually think it's going to commoditize the music business, and I think most musicians who create original content will look at it and not be particularly happy about it. I mean, there's no way that Dua Lipa is going to be psyched when someone messes with one of her tunes and that person gets 10 million streams and that person begins to blur the line between what Dua Lipa originally created with a team of people and this kind of also ran not particularly interesting electronic automated proxy of what she did. So no, I don't think it's that big a deal. Actually, I actually think it'll sort of be like, soap operas, kind of cheesy and nobody really pays attention.
Well, I do think that there is something interesting about your point about sort of the lines getting blurred between I don't know what the original thing was versus the thing that was created by a fan. You see this all the time where sometimes a fan adjustment of a song becomes the thing that goes viral on TikTok because maybe it's the one that gets used in a lot of other people's videos. And then a lot of fans think that is the original song. And then when they go to actually listen to the song on Spotify and it's like slowed down from their perspective, they're like, oh, this isn't what I fell in love with. And that can be, I imagine that's a frustrating experience for the musician. But I'm with you in that I don't see a great amount of potential for this in terms of creating a lot more really beautiful, valuable art. What I do see this phenomenon as is a really cool fan engagement tool, right? What better way to make your fans fall in love with you than to give them an opportunity to kind of get their hands dirty with your content, make new cool stuff that, while probably doesn't have a lot of mass market appeal, is going to help them fall in love with you more and create stuff that maybe your fans might enjoy to help kind of create a fan community around what you've already created.
Yeah, and I do think yes, but I do absolutely yes and yes and yes, but I do think it's also going to compound the monopoly, meaning said Billy, who's home playing with his AI generated tools, is not going to pick an obscure artist to do this with. He's going to take a famous artist and do it and mess with that music. And so what it's actually going to do is make the powerful more powerful and actually weaken the weak, because kids are not dumb. They're going to look and they're going to be like, oh, to check out this Chapel Roan song and I'm going to redo it and cool. But they're not going to take an obscure artist and do that because they know it's not going to have this. The odds are, they know that the odds are it ain't going to have the same legs as if they do something from Doshi. So like, it's going to be part of a self-feeding phenomenon that we see on Spotify and so on. Also, I do wonder from your end, I don't get it. So if I take an Adele song, okay, or if I take whatever, a Kendrick Lamar song, and I put it into my toys home here and then release it on Spotify, is it like you have to go and get a license when you do a cover and pay a few bucks, or like what? I mean, there's got to be lots of legal implications. I wonder what your skin reaction is to that.
There are a ton of legal implications, and I'd love to dig into those. That being said, I think I speak for the audience, all the viewers and listeners that are all just to have their collective jaws dropped right now that Gideon King knew who Dochi was.
Hey,
you thought you could just toss that in there like it was no big thing.
Dude,
look at you. Okay.
You underestimate me, man.
I clearly did. That's on me.
It is.
A real man of the Gen Z population, Gideon King. Okay. So yes, this does create some pretty significant copyright concerns, right? Because if you're going to speed up, slow down, interpolate existing, sample existing recordings, and then try to make YouTube videos with them or put them on Spotify, it is a pretty obvious copyright issue, right? And as a legal community, as a legislative community, we need to figure out the best mechanisms to decide what we're gonna do with those works, right? Are we just gonna take all these kids to federal court because it's an obvious case of copyright infringement, or are we gonna find a way to let these works breathe? But and furthermore, this isn't something that you can just sort out with like a compulsory mechanical license, right? You can't because you're first of all, you're using the original sound recording, and you can't do that and get a compulsory mechanical license because you can only do that with true covers. And you can only do it with true covers, right? So if you start adding music to it, adding verses, choruses, changing the lyrics around, things like that, you've left compulsory mechanical license land. So you actually have to negotiate a license with the publishing company and with the record label, which I'm guessing your average 13-year-old's not going to do. No. And so, yeah, it's a lot to figure out from a copyright standpoint. And
Listen, the good news for all your listeners is the lawyers will win. Not to worry, the lawyers will win. It'll be awesome. It'll be a Merry Christmas. It's gonna
don't tell them that was our plan all along, was just for the lawyers to win in all this. Well, it sounds like you have a understandable fear of where technology is going and these new media and things like that. So I want to get to Jay Gilbert's second prediction about 2025, which is actually a little bit of some throwback technology. He talked about how 2025 we're going to continue to see the rise of vinyl alongside streaming. From the article, quote, in 2025, vinyl continues the long road back from fandom to consumption. Look for pre-release campaigns with premium vinyl coming weeks ahead of streaming. Owning, holding, and displaying a curated vinyl record with unique artwork has a much deeper meaning to a fan. Vinyl is ownership, streaming is access, and fans want both. I'll say from my perspective, I think we've been heralding the rise of vinyl for about 10 years now, and while it certainly does have its niche appeal, and there are people who are bringing it back, and vinyl is on the rise. It actually, a couple of years ago, outpaced downloads in terms of like the way people are consuming music, which I thought was pretty mind-boggling. It's still not widely adopted. A lot of people don't have record players, and so I am skeptical of the idea of vinyl really becoming a significant force in the music industry as opposed to just something that's kind of a cool novelty.
Okay, so like I'm not sure what this guy was thinking when he answered these questions. I mean, if the question is what trends are going to drive music business in 2025, the answer is not vinyl, okay? like let's be honest, like there was $49 million of vinyl sales in 2023. Okay, that was up 13, 14, 15%. Let's call it 50 million for simple math, okay? Let's say it grows another 15%, okay? 50 times 1.15 is 57.5 million. So call it 58 million. So that means if it continues to grow like it's been growing, there's going to be 58 million in sales against a music business, which is however big. So that's a joke. Vinyl is cool. I love vinyl. It sounds cool. Sticking the stylus on the record and all that stuff, it's all cool. But like to say that's a trend that's going to drive the music business is like saying you're going to start at point guard for the Miami Heat next year. So like I don't know what
I might this season.
Yeah, no, I know. I've seen you play. I've heard about you. But yeah, no, I mean, dude, like I don't know what this guy's talking about. Vinyl's really cool, and no offense to any of your listeners who love vinyl. I love it too. I grew up in the age of vinyl, but to say that's a major trend in the music business, it's actually almost not worth addressing. It's so laughable.
I had no idea it was 50 million. That is really low. I mean, Taylor Swift grosses that in a long weekend of concerts.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Taylor Swift, it's good you mention that. So wait, what is 1/10 is 10%, 1/20 is 5, so 1/15 is 7.5%. Okay, so Taylor Swift is roughly 8% of those vinyl sales. So of the 50 million in vinyl sales in 2023, what's 8% of 50 million? It's 4 million. So she was 4 million of the 50 million in vinyl sales. So like, I'm not sure what this guy's talking about, but he's clearly doing some very, very effective drugs because it's just not. It's a joke. That's a joke. Well,
he's certainly doing his morning coffee because that's the name of his newsletter. But I mean, I think it's neat. I have a record player. Just because I'm a slave to trends, and I own like 3 vinyl records, and I play them every once in a while, and then I realize, God, it's kind of a pain in the butt to pull the thing out of the sleeve and set the needle on, and then I go back to listening to stuff on streaming. But
gave me no credit whatsoever, even on Christmas, which I'm very disappointed for using the word stylus. I used the word stylus, and you gave me no credit, Ryan, none.
Well, I showered you with praise for the Doechii reference. I mean. Clear. I mean, sorry, I missed that one. That was boy, you're really spanning the generations from stylus to vinyl records all the way to making a Doechii reference. You are just spanning the decades, Gideon King.
I'm overcompensating for the fact that I'm getting older. I want to be relevant, man. I want to be relevant.
I will add this last quick note about vinyl, even though I do agree with you in just terms of like, I think it's how much it's sort of penetrating pop culture is grossly overstated. I do think it is an example of a deeper trend that we're seeing throughout the entertainment industry about entertainment companies trying to find ways to, in an increasingly digitized world, by the way, find tangible things for people to have and collect and create revenue streams with them, right? It's sort of like, to me, vinyl records is the equivalent of the movie industry creating personalized popcorn buckets for different movies to get you actually to go out to the multiplex and watch a movie so you can collect all your different popcorn buckets as sort of trophies. I think it's a cool idea. I think it creates some, neat social media fodder to help you kind of promote a movie or, things like that. Do I think it is going to be a significant portion of the revenue pie for entertainment properties going forward? No, but the popcorn buckets are cool. And so are vinyl records. It's neat to be able to have them as trophies on your shelf.
Absolutely. I completely, sadly, and much to my disappointment, I agree with everything you're saying.
Have you put out a release in vinyl before? Is that something you're considering?
No, because there's only 49 million in vinyl sales, and Taylor Swift is 8% of it, and it's absolutely pointless.
Okay. The last trend that Jay Gilbert talks about is the rise of a direct-to-consumer revolution. From the article, quote, "There are so many benefits to developing a robust direct-to-fan relationship, not to replace traditional middlemen like labels, distributors, retailers, and DSPs, but to supplement them. D2C can take the form of website sales, venue sales, fan clubs, and crowdfunding. There are a lot of great platforms to get you started like Bandzoogle, Bands in Town, and Bandware. Artists and their teams are finding a lot of freedom in the products and experiences they offer D2C. They also gain greater control over pricing and margins, capture valuable fan data to foster direct-to-fan relationships." Now, I think there's a lot of similarity here with the prior discussion about vinyl, about when artists are selling T-shirts through Bandcamp or other merchandise through a Bandware or something like that. That's probably not a huge piece of the pie relative to the whole music industry. But for indie artists, if you are, kind of getting if you're sort of in the early stages of your career, I think this D2C lane of being able to sell tangible items directly to your fans can be a significant revenue stream for that population, right? If you can get one fan to buy one T-shirt on Bandcamp, or even to buy like one CD of your music on Bandcamp for $10, that's thousands of streams, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of streams. And so, getting that one sale can be a big percentage of those artists' pie. And so I don't think we should immediately just sort of cast aside D2C as a model for certain populations of artists.
So this is super complex, but here's what I will say. If you shop around in New York City to get 1,000 T-shirts made for your band, okay, I say this from experience, it's freaking expensive. If you want hats that are not awful hats, but that are pretty cool that people are going to wear, it's really expensive. And so the direct consumer artist economy, once again, will work if you're big. And I don't want to be a total downer. I have an answer, but it will disappoint you. It's unbelievably difficult, even if you use these modalities and stuff to sell your stuff. Making the stuff, your gross margins, to use a business term, is ridiculously expensive. And actually, to be honest, it's prohibitive. If you want to give out, if 400 people come to a show for an indie artist, and you want to give out free T-shirts and hats, and you have to get medium, large, and small sizes, you're into $2,000 if you want decent T-shirts that people aren't like, yuck, I'd never wear this thing in a trillion years. So that's the same with these all these modalities. Super expensive to get your merch out there. And so far, to be frank, the artist economy for indie people hasn't done anything. Hasn't worked for anybody. Here's what works. Put out music and be good live. That still works. There's still a model there that if you can put 250 people in a room, even 150 people in a room, and you can get your musicians to, work for $100 that evening, $125, you can have a way to actually make money and spread the word. Now, having T-shirts and hats is a good way to spread the word. Everybody wants someone walking down the streets of Miami or New York or LA or Nashville with a T-shirt that says your band's name on it. But Like, let's be real. If you're an indie artist that isn't even getting 75,000 of revenues a year, or even if you're getting 150,000 of revenues, and then you're paying your band out 140,000 of that 150, including travel expenses and everything, I mean, you ain't spending $5,000 or 10 grand to get enough t-shirts and hats so that it matters to sell through Bandcamp or sell through anything. So the artist economy is it's like every other economy. If you're LeBron James, you can sell t-shirts. If you're playing in the G League for the Lakers G League team and nobody knows your name, no kids are buying those t-shirts. So I don't mean to be a bummer, but the key thing, just like the G League player, is to get better at basketball. And the key thing, and that's a live event, playing basketball. So the key thing for indie artists is get really good live, because that model actually can make you a couple bucks. Selling the t-shirts can't. You don't sell enough, and to make enough so you're viable costs you lots of money, and you ain't going to sell them anyway, so you'll be out. And so it's, you know, I don't want to be a bummer, because these things are happening and the artist economy will grow. And I'm not saying people shouldn't try. They do. I try with our band. But at the end of the day, the model that works is being able to have lots of good original music and put on a killer, not good, a killer show that people will actually pay somewhere between $10 and $200 to come and see. Because if you can't do that, you're not selling those t-shirts through any electronic, any online medium.
Well, there's certainly no substitute for, you know, having a good live product and growing based on that. But in terms of t-shirts, for example, which I do think is a tough needle to thread for early career indie artists if you're trying to sell them at the venue, because you're putting up a lot of costs up front. What about like artists who just want to sell their t-shirts through online portals using a print on demand style, so you don't have to build up and pay for inventory?
Well, it's a little better. Okay.
I mean, you're going to get killed on margins probably.
But the way that you get to make the way that you can produce 1,000 t-shirts cheaply is to do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing with inventory. Whether you're selling steel or you're selling t-shirts, you got to do a lot all at once. Nobody wants to like make t-shirts for you on a one-off, 1-by-1 basis. That's not worth it for anybody. So people will crack these codes over time, and they will. The artist economy is not something that's needed. But I'm the biggest outside shareholder of a streaming service, and we've been studying the artist economy and trying to create stuff on that front. And it just doesn't. It isn't taking. Everybody talks about it, and everybody who comes on every show says, "I'm the newest thing for the artist economy." Here's the problem. There really isn't much of an artist economy. The only way to create that is to write lots of good music and be able to put on a good show. And then guess what? People buy your t-shirts, whether they're buying them at your show or they're buying them online. I don't mean to be a bummer, but like, you gotta be good at the basics before all this other gravy on top starts working for you. So listen, I know a lot of businesses who are taking a lot of people's money for the artist economy idea will disagree with me. The problem is they'll turn out to be wrong.
Well, if what you are saying is true about there being no substitute for creating a good live product, which I fully agree with, by the way, perhaps the pot of gold at the end of that rainbow for many of these artists is getting corporate gigs. And so we should talk with our guests a little bit more about that model and seeing the best path forward there using platforms like Eva. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to chat with our guests this week, Channing Moreling and Mackenzie Stokel of Eva. It's going to be great. Don't go anywhere. Keep checking out Break the Business. We'll be right back. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show.
Shannon and Mackenzie got a vision so clear. Ever hooks up gigs, making magic appear. Corporate world dancing to a brand new beat. Music and business, now ain't that sweet? Ever sets the stage where dreams come alive. Musicians and companies ready to thrive. Tune in to Break the Business, feel the vibe with Eva by your side. You'll rise like a tide.
Our guests this week are the founders of Eva, a booking platform that connects local artists with corporate event bookers with an Airbnb-like filtration app. This past summer, Eva closed an oversubscribed $2 million funding round as the company has paid out over $6 million to artists over the past 10 years. You can find out more about our guests' work by visiting bookwitheva.com. We are happy to welcome Mackenzie Stokel and Channing Moreland on to Break the Business. Hello to you both.
Hello. Hey, happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. I love getting to chat with the music entrepreneurs, the young, hip, cool ones, doing some cool things with technology to actually empower artists. There's a lot to like about this. And when I get people like you to interview, I want to begin at the beginning. I want to know the whole origin story. So let's go back to your college days. You first got connected as students at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, there's two things I know about Belmont, okay? First of all, credit where credit's due, great school to study music and music business, right? The Mike Curb College is fantastic, great music business program. Second thing I know about them, really conservative. I've heard some stories about the we'll call it uptight nature of Belmont University. They're looking after our souls there. That I guess there's something to be said for that. Do you have like a really crazy Belmont University super conservative story?
I'm so glad you asked. That is the question we don't get asked enough, I feel like.
Well, I'm here for this because I've heard some things, but I need to talk to an actual alum to know exactly what we're looking at here.
Well, we have Channing, I'll let you tell like the story that I think we're both thinking about, but I will agree.
I'm ready.
Like no boys are allowed in the dorms, very separate, like definitely no drinking, drugs, anything of that sort. But yeah, also like a very Christian aspect and a lot of rules that actually I think bonded Channing and I of how surprised we were when starting school there that there were going to be all these rules we were going to have to follow. But Channing, go ahead and tell this story.
Well, there's so many, so I am even really trying to choose. But first, I'll even say that, like Mackenzie said, that really was one of the very first big bonding moments for us. Is Mackenzie and I both went to the school for music aspects. Mackenzie was studying originally music business, and then she picked up an entrepreneurship degree as well. I came for songwriting, and so that's what brought us to that school. When we both got there for orientation, they just happened to pair us as freshman orientation roommates because Mackenzie and I just walked in at the same time, which was so kismet. But so we were sitting on, I remember perfectly, we were sitting on this brick stone wall about a day into orientation. And we were kind of just like, oh man, what have we gotten ourselves into going to this school? And I remember looking over to Mackenzie and I was like, kind of tried to just start asking questions to gauge her. Like, are you normal? Like, are you with this? Or, can I kind of trust you? And within a 5-minute conversation. I was like, oh, this is going to be my ride or die at this school. And so then when we got back and actually went to college, the rest was history. But we got into lots of trouble together. I'm not going to lie. One of our infamous stories was that we got a hedgehog together. There's other things that we did that are not allowed that I probably shouldn't talk about, but we just were always doing something.
Oh my God. We're gonna have to have an off-air conversation about what you
Yes.
did above and beyond the bringing in of a hedgehog that attracted the ire of Belmont University. But I know you started, or at least I read that you started, Eva, in your dorm room. So can we attribute the fact that you are a women-founded company pretty much to the notion that you weren't allowed to have men in your room at the time when you started this company? Do we owe the girl power nature of Eva to the uptight rules of Belmont University?
That's funny, actually. We actually did have a third partner who was a guy early on. And we could not meet in the dorms for that. We would have to go to the cafeteria or on the lawn to meet. But once he didn't work out and Channing and I continued, definitely a lot of dorm late night hangs that probably were not able to happen otherwise.
Wow. So, I mean, take us back to those early days. Like, what were you able to do from your dorm room with what I assume are limited resources and limited time trying to balance a full course load while getting Eva started? Like, what were those early days like?
Yes, I remember when we first really got started it was the February of freshman year, so our second semester back. And we just really started having conversations about, we started a first business before Eva. That was really an events discovery platform. And then that led us to starting to produce our own events. And so from there, we just started saying, like, what if we could build our own platform? What would that look like? We started spending late nights working with developers from overseas, and just started building that first platform. We were in the library a lot. I remember Mackenzie and I signed our first operating agreement that our lawyer gave us in the library on Belmont's campus. I remember we spent a lot of Saturdays just whiteboarding, working out what would this company look like? How would we build it? And it really started becoming our 24/7. I'm honestly surprised we graduated because we spent so much time on this, but we did.
Oh, wow. So can you identify the biggest challenge that you might have faced in the early years of your company and how you overcame it, whether it was something that you overcame while you were still at Belmont or maybe shortly after your graduation?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge early on was determining if we were going to really focus on corporate events. I think we started early on booking on college campuses for students. So we would go to schools all across the Southeast and help them book bands and DJs for their parties, basically. It was the very early days. And deciding whether or not to transition to corporate events was really a huge pivotal point for us because we had one corporate client that came to us. We did one corporate event and we're like, that was awesome. That was better than all of these fraternity and sorority parties that we've been booking bands for. They paid on time. It's not going to be a brand new client next year. But we had really focused on the college side first. All of our marketing, all of our entertainment that we had onboarded up until that point was very much for colleges. So we were, that was kind of our brand early on. So we were like, this is a very big pivot to shift to a totally different customer type. But I think it's a risk that we should take because the payout could be better. The growth could be bigger. And so, yeah, probably a year or so after graduation was when we fully transitioned to book for corporate. And that was definitely a great decision. And I'm glad we did it.
Let me talk to you guys about corporate gigs because I've spent a good part of my career in advising artists in trying to talk up the wonder that is corporate gigs. A lot of artists are kind of reluctant to take on corporate gigs, right? Oh, I'm too cool to play for some faceless corporation. I want to play for the college shows. I want to play, for the people. And what I try to tell them is corporate gigs are awesome. As you aptly noted, they pay on time. They usually pay very, very well. The people are usually quite friendly. You often get repeat business from them. Oftentimes, when you get to this time of the year in late December, you have a lot of corporate departments who have like a budget for these kind of events. And if they don't use that budget, they lose it. And so they wind up paying out a lot towards the end of the year for these gigs. There's a lot to like about these gigs, but I'd like for you, if you could, to help me talk these things up. For the reluctant artists out there who do not see the light of the amazing thing that is corporate gigs, please help talk this wonderful phenomenon up. Why should artists be doing these?
First off, Ryan, I just have to say it's so refreshing and exciting to talk to someone that really understands through and through the value of corporate. So that's just awesome. But yes, to talk it up to those who are maybe reluctant or a little unsure, there definitely was, back in the day, I think this mindset with corporate that it was being a sellout or, that was really hurting your career. But I think what's been so amazing, especially in the past 10 years, is brands are really taking their culture, bringing that to events. Events are so important post-pandemic for employees, engagement, user attendee conferences. I think that companies, the people that are now in those buyer seats are wanting to have more authentic music, more localized talent really come to their events. So we're seeing a lot more originality rather than just that typical cover band, party band. So what's been really exciting is we've been able to watch artists' careers grow and blow up along for the ride we've been able to be on with them, from starting at the very beginning to then growing to, a much larger realm in their career. So I think that it's, first off, even if no one in your fan base ever knows you do corporate, it's an amazing sustainable revenue stream. It's a great additive revenue stream. It can offset tour costs for you. It can be on your off dates on tour, or you can, perform while you're not on tour, and then that pays for everything. We've had, artists really, it has changed their lives, I think, by performing for corporate. So just a few examples, but yeah, it tends to pay 4 to 10x more than what someone would get on a typical gig. And that to me is just a no-brainer.
And for the artists who have now seen the light based on what you have said here and are like, yeah, I want to get more into this area of live performance, what should they be doing kind of internally in terms of their own housekeeping to make themselves look like an attractive candidate for a corporate gig? What are your corporate partners telling you about what they're looking for in an artist for a corporate gig? Should they be doing things with their website, their social media to make themselves more appetizing for these kind of gigs?
Yeah, I would say quality video content is the number one most important thing for a corporate client to be able to see what they're going to be booking or get as close as they can to seeing you live. So live video, good live video, ideally of a performance, even with some audience interaction, that's amazing. And then I would say after that, it helps to have really good social media, lots of views and plays on YouTube and Spotify. But I think you can also go very far without having those channels. As long as you have good photos, good videos, you're professional, you're going to show up on time, you're charismatic, you can chat with somebody, that's going to go a lot farther than necessarily like a follower count or a play count on Spotify or other wherever you would stream. Corporate clients aren't going to be as keen to that as they would be with somebody they can share a really good video with their whole team and everyone can get a good idea of who it is that they're going to be booking.
Love this. Now, so now that we have talked up why these gigs are valuable and how an artist can set themselves up to get more of these gigs, let's talk about the role that Evo plays in all of this. So how does your platform work? What problems is it aiming to solve?
We are aiming to automate the process of booking entertainment for corporate events and make it really easy for clients to find quality local entertainment wherever they're having their event. We're only launched in 8 cities right now across the Southeast and Midwest, but we can book entertainment all over, and we will be launched in at least 5 more cities next year. So we're just really trying to make it easy for corporate and private events to find quality entertainment in their area. A lot of times our clients are traveling into a city from somewhere else. They're not going to know the local vendors or the local artists that they might want to book for an event. So we can bring them that access and that quality entertainment that nobody else can.
And it's like a dual facing platform. So the artists are creating pages or profiles and the companies are creating pages and profiles on the platform.
Yeah, the companies aren't necessarily creating profiles, but they're the ones creating an event. So they'll say, this is the date, time, location, what I'm looking for, and our algorithm matches that event with entertainers that meet their criteria for them to respond with quotes.
Oh, that's cool. So you have an algorithm that is kind of filtering the different artists that might be available for this event, and then allowing the artist to make a pitch basically and give a price.
Yeah, pretty much. They can say, okay, based on these details, this is my quote, this is my price. If there's travel involved, they would include that. If they have to bring sound, all of those things that are different per event, which is why it's hard for us to ever have like standardized pricing. They're gonna quote for that event specifically, and then they can communicate directly with the client as well to start asking questions. If there's specific things they would need to know to give that quote, they can do so.
So it sounds like there's some measure of competitiveness on the platform in terms of the different artists making their best pitch. In that regard, do you have any advice for artists who are on the platform or are looking to get on the platform on how they can, for lack of a better word, close the deal? What should they be saying in their pitch? What's the thing that usually gets them over the top?
That's a great question. For us, there's a couple of things. We want to make it as easy for them to really show themselves in their, best light. So in the profile, they have the opportunity to put in their offerings, what they are compared to, like if they, sound like Ed Sheeran, just to help the buyer kind of understand sound. Like Mackenzie said, high quality video, footage, photos. We also have a spot for testimonials. So really giving them everything that like if you're looking on Airbnb, if you see a super host, you're like, okay, I feel good with, this kind of listing. But then when they're submitting that quote, we have the client submit their budget, and it's usually a range. And so that really helps the entertainer see, okay, like where do I fit in this range? We recommend submitting an offer within that range, but you're absolutely open to submit above that. But that, helps keep it competitive, on the quotes being submitted. And then from there, they're able to submit a note just on why they think they would be a really good fit for this. We find that people that have clearly really looked at the listing and what this event planner is looking for. If they're saying, hey, I really want a local act who's maybe willing to throw in a few covers, and hey, if you have anything from Stevie Nicks, I'm the biggest fan. So if you could, really show that you took a note of that and say, I love Stevie Nicks, I know these XYZ songs. It just, I think intentionality it really goes a long way with the corporate clients, because they have a lot of stress. They're having to oversee a million things, and if they know that you've got their back and you've got this part of the event handled, they're going to work with you every single time.
What you were saying there about phrasing the pitch and tailoring it to the particular company in that particular event, it does remind me of something I've heard when I've talked to event bookers at venues when they're giving advice to musicians. They always try to discourage musicians who are looking for gigs from creating like a cookie cutter paragraph that they've clearly sent to every single person. And it doesn't really show that you actually read the particulars of that event. It sounds like it's the same thing on Eva, right? If you want to stand out from the pack, actually read the event and see what they're looking for. If there's something in particular, there's a reason why that they want. There's a reason why that company put it in there. Show that you've read it and show how what you can offer is going to meet that particular need. And that sounds like a great way to stand out.
Exactly. I think it's very similar. It is clear, it becomes obvious if someone hasn't read, because we are asking for a lot of information from these event planners and organizers for a reason. There's a lot to know to see if you're the best fit. And we're constantly improving our technology and platform to keep refining who is getting these inquiries, who is the best fit to submit a quote on this event. But still, there are times where, if they're submitting and it's really doesn't make sense, that doesn't look great. So always recommend take the time, and it will pay in dividends in the back end.
And I imagine why you guys got into this line of work, why you decided to go and create a music startup, is because you love creators and you love seeing them succeed. You want musicians to thrive, and you created a place where they can do that. And so I imagine what keeps you all going are the individual stories of musicians who've been able to use their platform, use your platform, and achieve some amazing results. Do you have any particular success stories that you can identify of people who've used your program and really gotten, or used your platform and really gotten a lot out of it?
Yes, this is definitely, I mean, you nailed it on the head, Ryan. This is one of the main reasons that Mackenzie and I love this company so much. We were fans of the music from the get-go, and we saw, our friends getting taken advantage of in the industry, and we wanted to give them sustainable revenue to really build on their career. So it's been very exciting to see, some real wins from this. One of the originals that we actually went to school with them, they're this group called Nico. They're a pop duo now based in LA, and Danny and Colton are behind it. And it's just been incredible to see them blow up in their career. And we've gotten to really be a part of those early stages and continued on through those steps. I remember we were one of their first, private event bookings way back in the day for a lot less than what they book now, which is great to see the growth. We also have amazing acts like the Magi. They're just this incredible live looping, beatboxing, harmonizing trio. They're amazing. We book them. We've sent them to Hawaii, to Mexico. They've played all over the country for us. We have multiple examples of acts that are really, we have one act, Tabitha Meek. She said, "I bought my house because of Eva." That's incredible.
Wow.
So it's been amazing to see these stories, continue to come.
I mean, that last piece there must really just hit home for you, where you're not just putting a couple extra bucks in a musician's pocket, which is always, of course, rewarding, but you're changing lives. You are opening doors to this really lucrative revenue stream for these artists, which, by the way, not only helps the artist, but it helps the business community as well. You're providing a valuable service for businesses out there to improve morale, to give us all something fun to check out during the holidays. There's a lot of good you're all doing there, and I'm big fans of what you guys are up to. Again, you can find out more about our guests' work by visiting bookwitheva.com. Do you have any advice for artists on how they get started on their platform? What they should do to get started? What can they do to kind of make a big impact right away?
Yeah, well, easily you can sign up, bookwitheva.com, and we will look at your application, look at your profile. And like I said, I think quality video content is a great place to start. And then we also do help artists who are maybe haven't performed at a corporate event before. We do kind of educate and help people understand what the expectations are of corporate and private event planners. So you don't have to necessarily have all this corporate event experience to join. But just kind of anything different and unique is always going to do really well. Anything kind of outside of the box. We have some really weird out there stuff that's not even just music that does well that people will ask for. And then I think the other thing too, that even you can do without Eva to just start learning about corporate events and getting involved, is working with your city's convention bureau. Every major city has a visit Austin, visit Miami, visit Nashville. And they are always incentivized to get big companies and get big events to come have events in their city. And so they have their finger on the pulse of who's coming in to have a big conference next year, what companies, where is it, when is it? They know everything for these events that you would want to potentially get booked at. So they even have like networking events. Getting involved with those is a really easy place to start if you are interested in getting more corporate bookings.
Great advice all around. And I'd like to close this interview by getting one more piece of advice from each of you. So we're going to get to our final question here, and I'll first pose it to Channing. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Oh man, such a great question. I think that what I've continued to find in Mackenzie and I's experience building this company, and then also being surrounded by so many incredible creators and their careers, is that I think people that have the most success early on is they're surrounding themselves with really great community and partners or people that they can really lean on and work with and build a team with. I think sometimes people feel, oh, I'm too early to work with a manager or work with someone that can help me with booking. But it's amazing there are other people. Like, we knew we never wanted to be artists. but we knew we wanted to support artists. There are more of us out there, and I meet so many people that want to find ways to support artists. So I think don't be scared to ask for help, and you never know who you may find that will become a big part of your team.
Excellent. Now, before we get to Mackenzie's answer, there was actually one more note here that producer Lauren sent me, but because I'm not looking at my phone enough, I missed it. But it is worth asking about. So before we get Mackenzie's answer to the final question, let me just ask, how does liability insurance work with your platform, right? Because with these corporate gigs, sometimes the insurance comes on the artist side, sometimes it comes on the company side. Is that something that Eva helps with? How does it work?
Yes, that's a great point. Thank you, Lauren. It was really important to us that we provide this insurance for our entertainers. This is one of the biggest roadblocks we unexpectedly found with corporate events, because these large corporations have high, insurance needs for who can come and work with them. These entertainers aren't carrying a $5 million insurance policy. And so we wanted to solve that. And so for any event that is booked through Eva, we're providing that insurance for our entertainers to hopefully help with that. We're also helping management side, insurance, contract payment, the whole nine, just to really try to streamline that.
That's a really awesome value add. What a great benefit for the artists and the companies alike. I'm glad producer Lauren tapped my shoulder on that. That's a great thing to throw in there. Okay, now we've all been waiting. Mackenzie, your answer to our final question. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Yeah, I think my answer is complementary to Channing's. Surrounding yourself with people who have a business sense or learning it yourself. I think the creative side, that can be hard to learn. If you were born with a talent and you have grown this talent of creativity, whether it's music or something else, amazing. But a lot of times the business side doesn't really come naturally either, or you might not always just have both. So either maybe taking some classes, following some business folks like music managers, podcasts, following people online, getting a mentor or partner that can actually help, or a manager eventually, help you with that business sense and negotiating. Super, super important. And I think too, some people may have it and are better than others, but I think there's always more to learn. So continuing to kind of grow your knowledge on the business side of the creative business is something that's never going to hurt.
Again, check out bookwitheva.com if you want to learn more. Mackenzie, Channing, thank you so much for joining us this week. I have really enjoyed this. I wish you nothing but the best of luck with your platform going forward. And don't be a stranger, okay? We'd love to have you on again real soon. We want to hear how your company continues to grow. I want to see you all in every major city, because musicians need these gigs everywhere.
Oh, thanks so much, Ryan. It's been such a pleasure being on with you today.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Our thanks to Channing Moreland and Mackenzie Stokel of Eva for joining us in that interview. And let me just say, as we close here, Gideon, my thanks to you, of course, for all the amazing insights you brought us, not just this week, but for the whole dang year. You've absolutely brought it and have just made this show a much better place. And also want to extend our thank yous to Katie Zaccardi and Elisa Rockdock and Zach Sloan for being amazing co-hosts throughout the year. And I think the biggest thank you, and I imagine Gideon feels this way as well in terms of if we're going to be throwing these out, is to producer Lauren, who keeps all of this humming. Lauren, can you pop in? Are you feeling like, there we go. Producer Lauren, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for making this show possible. I mean, I've been here since the beginning, so I remember what this show was like before it got producer Lauren's magic touch, and we're really grateful for everything you do for us. And I know, Gideon, you feel the same.
Ditto. It's fun.
Absolutely.
I love all of you.
I can say for all your listeners that I'm technologically very challenged, and every time I have a tricky problem, I call Lauren up. And she figures it all out, and she does it calmly. I'm in a panic, and she does it calmly. That's what people really don't see. That's what's impressive.
Yeah. To me, Lauren is like the duck on the water, where it looks calm above the surface, and you don't see like the feet paddling like crazy. So you don't see the stuff happening behind the scenes when all these graphics that come up, the video that comes up, or just the when a guest can't make the technology work or like they, God forbid, they have to cancel, and Lauren is behind the scenes setting things up, putting up new segments, making sure the show stays on track. You make it look easy, which is just a testament to your skill more than anything else. Again, thank you so much, producer Lauren.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And thanks to all of our viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business throughout the year. We are so excited to have you with us for 2025. Until then, though, please have a wonderful New Year's, and we'll see you next year.
See you next year.
Break